To the untrained eye, this may appear to be just another busy intersection in any town, USA. But if we look a little closer, we see that the ocean is just a stone's throw from here in this direction, and only a few hundred yards away from these condominiums and sports fields is a public park that covers nearly 500 acres of woods, wetlands, and river coastline. Known as Bear Cove Park, it features two easily accessible points of entry, one here on the Beal Street side of town, and the other off of Fort Hill Street. What stands out about the Fort Hill entryway is the building that once served as an ammunition filling station during World War II is now the Fire Museum for the town of Hingham. This educational and historical depot, which is also part of the park, is open most weekends during the spring, summer, and fall. And this is where we ran into Jerry Duff, who not only knows more about the history of Hingham's fire department than just about anyone in town, but she could also easily moonlight as a tour guide for Bear Cove Park.
When we have an open house, I see a lot of this in that people will bring their children in for a walk through the park, and they go, oh, the museum's open. And they stop in and we talk about, hey, have you gone down to the riverfront to see the osprey catching fish? And once they walk through, and I said, you don't have to do the whole park at once, do a little at a time. And they keep coming back.
Throughout the park, there are countless reminders of its military history. The paved roads tying the property together, which at one time were a means of getting munitions from point A to point B, are now a great way for walkers, cyclists, and runners to get around.
The paved roads were left over from the military. They're making an easy walk and an easy place for your little guys to ride their bikes. There's no traffic. And as you walk along, if you access the town website, there's a map, and it tells you what kind of animals you might see.
A great way to see some of that wildlife is to enjoy the well-worn trails off the roadways. Even on a slow day, it's fun to watch our feathered friends go about their business without a care. Of course, there are those who like to use the trails off the trails, even if it means wrestling with brush and overgrowth. In particular, to reach this landmark that during World War II was used as a storage place for munitions. But prior to that, its purpose is still somewhat unknown. For the longest time, Bear Cove Park has been a great refuge for people here in town to get away from it all and soak in the abundance of nature that this place has to offer, even if it's just for a lunchtime walk. Of course, anytime we talk about land in New England, there's bound to be some history attached to it, and in this case, a little bit of mystery, like these tombs that are right behind me. It was these tombs that inspired a couple of locals to put on their own detective hats and find out what exactly they're doing back here. During one of her jogs along this path back in 2021, Julie Christian stumbled across and learned the history of this crucifix on the hill from another jogger. While that was strange enough, it was what he told her next that made her curious enough to look deeper into some of the other anomalies in these woods.
He said, hey Julie, there's a tomb close by. And I stopped, I turned back and said, tomb? And then he told me it's in close proximity to where this crucifix was that I had seen.
Upon further inspection, there were in fact tombs on the property, but it was their condition that stood out the most.
Tombs are associated with cemeteries, and when you see doors ripped off cemeteries in a public park that's not memorialized, you think, what was it? Are the bodies still there? Where are the bodies? There's lots of questions that go on in your mind, and I thought to myself, I can't be the only one thinking these things.
Someone else was thinking these things, and his name is Jim Clark. Anyone who's taken the time to read this sign knows his handiwork. Nowadays, the roofline of these high-end condos has taken the place of the town's home for the indigent, known as the Almshouse, that once stood here for over 100 years. It's believed that during that period, these tombs were used to store the bodies of those who died at the almshouse over the winter until they could receive a proper springtime burial. Visitors to the park can thank Clark for signs like this one, reminding people of what used to be here.
The almshouse is now gone, and the tomb vault, if you will, is the only thing left to reflect what happened there at that time in history.
To the average person, Bear Cove is just a great place to get back to nature, take the dog for a walk, or go for a bike ride. For Julie Christian, the hope is that the experience here for others continues to be one of great enjoyment, with a touch of self-reflection.
I think people spend a lot of time walking through cemeteries, visiting loved ones, But there's a cemetery right here, an important cemetery. It was a benevolent act perpetrated by the town of Hingham for 100 years, and it helped more than 200 people walking in and out of the doors during 1832 to 1932 in a very difficult period of time in our country's history. I hope that they walk through and they take a moment to think about their own lives, their own mortality, how they make a difference in this world, and how they want to be remembered.